If Chimaev won't come to Pereira, then the Brazilian will take the fight to him. I mean, he's already taken it to the public, in a pretty dramatic way actually. He's accused the Chechen of ducking his challenge, but Poatan doesn't give up this easily. After taking Madison Square by storm against Israel Adesanya,
at 2 minutes, 1 second of the 5th round, declaring the winner by TKO and new UFC Undisputed.
the newly minted UFC middleweight champ is itching for his next challenge. The Brazilian has been in talks for a fight with Chimaev for a while now. Who wouldn't want to fight him? He's the fastest rising contender on the UFC roster right now.
Look at this. Now he's got the right angle.
Oh, he's got to fight the hand. He's going to go to sleep if he doesn't fight the hand, DC.
It's over. It's over, Paul. It's over.
That
is it. 10-0. The hype is real. Khamzat Chimaev remarkably does it again.
Coming strong off of his 6 straight wins. This had Alex running after him for a showdown, but unfortunately it was a lost cause. According to Poatan, his opponent's getting cold feet, running from the 170-pound division after being offered a fight against him. The deal breaker? He wanted to fight in middleweight, which would have made it Pereira's first title defense, almost right after his own title fight. Crazy, right? Don't worry, Chimaev's ambition is just as crazy. The Chechen's known for being unpredictable. I could tell ever since he missed his weight cut against Nate Diaz, forcing Kevin Holland to take over. In a zesty move right after, he challenged the winner to a match. That's not all of it. He added spice to the mix by exchanging some verbal jabs with Poatan too. Khamzat was on his trail, or so it seemed. In another unpredictable move since then, he turned down a lightweight fight. After all the hype he'd been building, it actually does make sense, especially to Poatan himself. The Chechen stepping carefully at the moment. One slip and it might cost him the hype he's managed to build for himself. Plus, his record's an incredible 6 for 6 recently.
All heart down the stretch as Chimaev lands again. Body kick for Khamzat. What a fight!
One wrong move, and he might have to start from scratch again, though the same is true of waiting too long. It might hush up all the noise and take him back to the bottom of the ladder. Considering the high stakes, it seems logical for him to wait his turn for a middleweight title shot, rather than risk it with Poatan in the lightweight division. Though Khamzat might have to wait a long while this time. Missing weight recently didn't do him any favors. It's that moment of bravado, sort of a rebel without a cause seen at the weigh-in. This has damaged or at least delayed the fighter's prospects. He's done well for himself so far, which makes it all the more crucial for him to be extra careful now that he's ready to bridge the gap from star to superstar. His colleagues at the UFC have taken notice of him too, both the good and the bad. They all unanimously agree though the 28-year-old has some distance to go before he can declare himself the champ. The Brazilian star Glover Teixeira called it first. He knows what the Chechen's been doing all summer, building hype for his fights of course. Now that all the fights are on hold at the time, the former UFC light heavyweight champ had some advice for Chimaev. You can't become champion with talk alone. Not that it isn't a great asset. It's what drew comparisons between Khamzat and primetime Conor McGregor. Despite their difference in English proficiency, both give as good as they get in the talk department. Backing it up with actions is a completely different fight, which the Swedish fighter does very well too. It's a knockout combo, but only if Khamzat stays consistent and pulls his weight in the division. His last chokeout to Kevin Holland proved his mettle, though his struggles with the weigh-in may make things difficult for him in middleweight. That's where Alex is king. Crowned just recently after going the full 5 rounds against longtime opponent Izzy.
We expect the championship experience of Adesanya to start to take form and show itself.
Yeah, look at the big, deep breaths from the challenger. Oh, that was a good elbow from the bottom.
It seemed that Poatan was sending out a message to not just the division, but the whole of UFC. He's not taking any prisoners this time. He's taken that same determination and used it to put a target on Khamzat's back. Suddenly, the hunter became the hunted. Alex is also doubling down on his opponent's uncertain future, drawing attention to his all-talk, no-action attitude. UFC veteran and commentator Daniel Cormier backed up this reputation. While discussing Chimaev's empty calendar for the first quarter of 2022, 2023. DC also emphasized the Swedish fighter hadn't fought since September of 2022. That makes him incredibly vulnerable to the challenge from Poatan. Of course, the current middleweight champ should know that. Before his rise to the top of UFC's division, the two-time former Glory champion always played the underdog. He's still the underdog, but the 35-year-old has no time to think about that. That's because he makes quick work of all of his competition.
Good because he's...
Oh!
That's what I'm talking about. That's it.
That's why!
That's what I'm talking about.
Done it again!
That's why!
You
That's
cannot stand in front of that man.
Now with an upcoming fight against Boers, his strategy to take the Chechen challenger up on his offer has put his 28-year-old opponent in a tight spot. Talk about turning the tables, especially after Chimaev's brand was built around his utter domination of the 170-pound division, which he claimed had turned all his opponents run away. Oops, does that term sound familiar? So, if nothing else, Alex's recent call-out is a crucial promotional strategy. In other words, it's a reverse Uno card done just right. Plus, the champion with the 6-1 record added some icing on the cake by offering to move up to 205 pounds against Chimaev. He even gave him a date and time, or as Khabib put it, send location. Rio, UFC 283, Chimaev versus Pereira. The champ really pulled no stops there. Also doing so right after he just had a hard weight cut, that's incredible. Credit where it's due though. Khamzat did make it very easy for Pereira. The Chechen native isn't used to having the crowd against him. His attitude of a lone wolf was key to his nickname, Wars. The Wolf certainly missed a catch there when he deleted a tweet claiming to accept a fight against Pereira for UFC 282, proving the Brazilian's open challenge to him for a showdown at Rio. But by deleting his tweet, he exposed his weakness and sort of let Pereira draw first blood before ever landing the first punch. That's a pretty strong starting position, especially since a fight's probably not on the cards anytime soon. This gives Poatan some leeway in choosing his next matchup, with Chimaev no longer on the same priority list as he was earlier. Sometimes it just is better to keep quiet and let your work do the talking. It's a sore but important lesson for Chimaev, and if his 12-0 UFC record's anything to go by, Boers will take this on the chin too and keep charging ahead. His bid for the welterweight title may have come across a little technical issue, like problems with making weight, but the Swede's known for not letting things faze him. It usually ends up phasing his opponents. This is why this turnaround with Pereira jumping on the offense and the orthodox Chechen on the back foot promises an exciting match ahead whenever it takes place. Even their reaction to winning is extremely cool. Poatan built his bones in the business by keeping calm and collected. It also led to his nickname, Stone Hands. On the other hand, Khamzat's win over Holland was a 3-minute wrap-up.
Using a lot of energy here.
Yep.
Holland really wincing now.
He might tap. It looked like his right hand was breaking his tap. That's it. He got it.
After he'd both missed weight and taken heavy criticism. That just goes to show his self-confidence is pretty sound, just as Poatan's, who's on a career high and only aiming higher. In this battle of equals then, an exciting fight's already a given. The only question may be which division they'll fight in and when. See you in the next one.